Hello and welcome to this continuing exploring session on Liberality and Prodigality, a play that we started the first 2/3 of in the previous session. Do go back and watch it. It was rather fabulous. Fabulous in its most campest and enjoyable iteration of the word. And so, yes, we're not going to recap too much, except that there is a sort of three-way split between how you should deal with money and fortune. Should you be prodigal and spread the wealth? Should you be a bit of a miser and hold on to it with tenacity? Or should you be somewhere in between, personified by the slightly unhelpfully named liberality? And we have this wonderful team of people who are going to be finishing reading this play, and then we're going to go on to the play, The Marriage of Wit and Science. And I will address the issues of déjà vu you may have with that later on. But first, to introduce the readers today. So in no particular order, reading today, Vanity, second Suitor, Tipstaves, and later Wit is...
Hello, I'm Pamela. I am an actor based in London.
Today, reading Prodigality, Captain and Will is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Money, Host, third Suitor, Judge and Reason is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor, translator, and occasionally theatre maker based in the north of England.
Reading Tom Toss, Virtue and the Epilogue is...
My name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author living in Romford.
And reading Dick Dicer, Equity and Experience is...
Hello, I'm Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in wicked old Amsterdam.
And reading Fortune, Sheriff and Nature is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian. I'm in Yorkshire, where the local archive has just announced that it's opening.
Yay! And reading today the exciting role of Clerk is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
And finally reading Constable, Liberality and Science is...
Hello, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and I will be performing the Crier later on. Yes, for once I'm going to do some acting. Show everyone how not to do it. So we are up to Act 4, Scene 4, and the instance that have led into where we are has involved the personification of money being handed over to Tenacity, the miserly type figure who takes money off. And Vanity was on stage and may still be on stage as we go into this next scene, Scene 4. So, stage direction that we have, enter Prodigality, Dick Dicer, Vanity, and to them afterwards, Tom Toss.
Oh, monstrous, vile, filthy luck! See, in the twinkling of an eye, scarce knowing which way, I've quite lost my money.
Out of all doubt, Prodigality has not gone yonder way.
Then seek some other course, make here no stay. He must be found out, there is no remedy. Thou knowest in what pickle we stand without money.
Why, sure, Prodigality, it can be no other, but he is returned to Fortune, his mother.
Thinkest thou so? Thou, Fortune, hearest thou? By fair means I advise thee, restore my money to me again, deal plainly and wisely, or by this sharp-edged sword shalt see me play a proud part, for I will have him again, in spite of my heart.
Whom have we there that keepeth such a coil?
Even he that will not put up such a foil.
What's the matter?
Vanity, to that dame thy mistress commend me. Tell her it doth not a little offend me to have my money in such great despite, taken so from me without any right. What though it were once her own proper gift? Yet given 'tis mine own, there is no other shift. Therefore charge her, in the name of Prodigality, that he be restored to me incontinently, lest she repent it.
These be sore and cruel threatenings, marry. Is your haste so great that by no means you mean to tarry?
I will not tarry, and therefore make haste.
Soft, sir, a little. There is no time past. You may tarry, you must tarry, for aught as I know. Nay, then you shall tarry, whether you will or no.
And Vanity exits.
Vound, sir, he mocks you.
Jibe not with me, you horse and rascal slave. For money I come, and money will I have. Sirrah Vanity. Vanity! What vanity? Speak and be hanged. Vanity! What will not be?
What prodigious knave! What a slave is this!
Fortune, find fortune, you minion, if you be wise. Bethink ye betimes, take better advice. Restore unto me my money quietly, else look for wars. Vanity, fortune, vanity.
Sir, you see it booteth not.
It is but my ill luck. Now the devil and his dam give them both suck. What may we do? What counsel givest thou, Dick?
Marry, sir, be ruled by me. I'll show you a trick, how you may have him quickly.
As how?
Scale the walls, in at the window, by force fet him.
None better, i' faith. Fetch a ladder and I will set him. Fortune, thou injurious dame, thou shalt not by this villainy have cause to triumph over prodigality. Why speakst thou not? Why speakst thou not, I say? Thy silence doth breed thine own hurt and decay.
Here is a ladder.
Set it to.
And here Prodigality scaleth. Fortune claps a halter about his neck. He breaketh the halter and falls.
Thrones! Help, Dick! Help quickly, or I'm choked!
God a mercy, good halter, or else you had been yoked.
O thou vile, ill-favoured, crow-trodden, pie-pecked ront, thou abominable blind foul filth, is this thy want? First maliciously to spoil men of their good, and then by subtle sleights thus to speak their blood. I abhor thee, I defy thee, wheresoe'er I go, and do proclaim myself thy mortal foe.
Enter Tom Toss.
News, prodigality, news.
Good, and God will.
What news, Tom?
I have met with money.
Where?
Marry, sir. He's going into a strange country with an old chuff called Tenacity.
Tenacity? Is that Tinker's budget so full of audacity?
'Tis true.
May we not overtake him?
Yes, easily with good horses.
Let's go then, for God's sake. We'll catch him in a trap.
Go. We will go with you, whatever shall hap.
And they exit. We're going to rattle straight into the next scene. Enter Vanity.
Oh, rotten rope, that thou must be so brittle! Hadst thou but happened to have held a little, I had taught my princocks against another time, so to presume Dame Fortune's bower to climb. To make such escape his hap was very good. Well, he 'scaped fair, I swear by the rood. But will you have me say my fantasy, quod defertur non affortur? For assuredly, the gentleman will never hold himself quiet till once more he come to taste of this diet. Mark the end.
Vanity,
Madam.
is this royster gone?
Oh, yea, madam, he is gone.
Then get thee anon, for cause my attendants to come away, for here as now I will no longer stay, but prosecute this foe of mine so fast, by mischiefs all I may, that at the last he shall arrive unto a wretched end, and with repentance learn how to offend a goddess of my state and dignity.
Lady, to do your will I hasten willingly.
And Vanity exits, and Fortune comes down from her bower.
Dame Fortune's power, her most exceeding might, is known by this as an undoubted thing, since here most plainly hath appeared in sight how all the world doth hang upon her wing, how high and low, of all states and degrees, do rise and fall again as she decrees. Then let not virtue think it scorn to yield to fortune, chief of power, chief sovereignty. Sith fortune here by proof hath won the field, subdued her foes, and got the victory. For as she list to favour, else to frown, she hoisteth up, or headlong hurleth down.
And enter Vanity again.
Madam, here are your vassals ready pressed to do the thing that fortune liketh best.
Well then, come on to witness this our victory. Depart we hence with sound of fame, triumphantly.
And cries of reverence, due reverence. Though, to be honest, I suspect that's just another musical number, isn't it? Reverence. Oh, so many health and safety implications of this scene. So I'm seeing a set here that is basically a wall full of doors and windows that just open and close randomly. I mean, that's just sort of how I'm starting to see how I do this. And, you know, with the doors and windows that illuminate as well and bright up. And I just see all sorts of crazy things for this. But yeah, shall we talk about the, he tries to scale her bower and then she tries to hang him? And luckily the rope snaps. I mean, how the hell do you do that in any kind of way safely? I mean, I assume they didn't really care. Children are cheap then. Presumably it's not their best singer that they've sent out to do this. Thoughts?
It's scary, isn't it? I don't know, a paper chain or something that would inevitably break.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine us staging it that way now. Health and safety, as you say.
Yeah, it's a thing. Yes, Helen.
Then we go back to Prodigality, who has suddenly developed an enormous sense of entitlement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having dumped the path of virtue and picked fortune instead of virtue, he has now, having been found the wrong side of fortune, he is not coping well with it.
No.
I mean, this tremendous sense of entitlement. And the rules are made for other people, not him.
Yes.
I could see him played as a hedge fund manager or a senior banker.
Well, you know, you gave me the money, so it's mine now. Nobody else you're not allowed to take the money away from me. No, I have it now. And yet the plot still also continues moving forward. So Prodigality is deeply unhappy, tries to get the money back, fails. Fortune is going to sue, or broadly, isn't it? Going to go to law to get him. They've gone off to find they've gone off to find what's his name, Tenacity, who's got the money now. It's all go. It's really kicking off.
I still think putting money, the character money on the stage, is the single biggest problem of this play, because he has to change so much depending on how much he's been spent and how well he's been treated, and he's got to go from fat to thin. And
I see that as an opportunity, not a burden.
Yeah.
I think that gives you an awful lot of leeway with what you can do with him. I just like the idea of money walking around and just money keeps pouring out of one trouser leg or something, you know? And it just keeps you know. There's all that there's so much potential there.
No, the game of the personification of money never ends. Even when he's not on stage, it's hilarious that they talk about him that way.
Yeah.
He could be costumed with a reversible coat.
Mm.
One side of it being smart, and the other being very sort of almost Charlie Chaplin tramp.
Well, it's just Sorry, Aliki.
Yeah, sorry. You all took it as a kind of joke when I said yesterday that he should be in basically gold lame and gold body paint. But I think that works because you can put anything on top of that or take it off, and then still money.
I just would love a sort of trick set up where, you know, he's connected to a hose that you can't see at one point, and he just literally just sort of money just out of him. You know, almost a Mr. Creosote fashion, and just.
I like that.
Another wafer than mint.
Yes. Anyway, additional thoughts before we move into the final act. I'm forcing the pace.
Even when Money's not on stage, they're talking about him in Lords. So I think it gives the play another dimension, because I don't remember them talking about other characters that much.
Yes, the money is this perennial character who's even if they're not on stage, they're always alive in the text. I think that's It's like death. You just can't write bad dialogue for money. Death and taxes, they're perennial. Okay, we're moving on to Act 5 then. It's all heading to a close, I think, possibly. Who knows? Enter Prodigality, Money, Toss, and Dicer.
Come on, my bullchin. Come on, my fat ox. Come, porkling. Come on. Come, pretty twattocks. Why will it not be? Get faster a kersey. This gentleman of late is waxen so pursy. As at every land's end he seeketh to rest him. How think ye? Hath not tenacity trimly dressed him?
Prodigality, if thou lovest me, let us here stay. For sure I can do no more than I may. I'm out of breath, as weary as a dog.
He falls down upon his elbow.
A lustish lover, as fat as a hog.
Come up, gentle Molly. We may not here stay.
I must needs, Prodigality. There is no nay. For if I should stir me 1 inch from the ground, I think I shall die, sure, or fall in a swound.
Then must you be drawn.
Drawn or hanged, all is one, for I cannot stir me, my breath is clean gone.
How like ye this grossome corpus, so mightily grown?
I like him better, that he is your own.
A more monstrous beast, a beast more unwieldy, since first I was born, yet never beheld I.
Indeed, the horse is waxed somewhat too fat, but we will find medicines to remedy that.
Sir, let me but have him a little incure, to put my poor practice of physic in yore. And I dare warrant ye, with a purgation or twain, I'll quickly rid him out of all this pain.
I think a glister were better.
Nay, rather a suppository.
Nay, then, what say you to letting of blood?
I think that some of these should do him good. Ask the physician.
Prodigality!
Oh!
I am sick.
Where, man?
Faith, here in my belly. It swells, I assure ye, out of all measure.
Take heed it grow not to a tympany.
And if it do, what is the danger then?
A consumption.
A consumption? Marry, God forbid, man.
What think you now of tenacity? Was he a friend or a foe?
Oh, that wretch tenacity hath brought me to all this woe. Was he indeed that sought to destroy me, in that he would never use or employ me? But prodigality, sweet prodigality, help to provide some present remedy. Let me not be this miserably spilt. Ease me of this, and use me as thou wilt. Yet had I rather live in state, bare and thin, than in this monstrous plight that now I am in, so fatty, so foggy, so out of all measure, that in myself I take no kind of pleasure.
Why, rise up then quickly, and let us be gone.
Oh, friends, you must help me. I cannot rise alone.
Come on, my sweet Money. We must have a mean to turn this foggy fat to a finer lean.
The sooner the better.
Nay, Money, doubt not, but by sweat or by vomit I warrant thee, shortly thou shalt be rid from it.
Rid, quotha? If shaving, or boxing, or scouring, or anointing, or scraping, or purging, or bloodletting, or rubbing, or paring, or chafing, or fretting, or aught else will rid it, he shall want no ridding. Come on, Money, let's be jogging.
This scene was sponsored by the Conservative Party.
I'm seeing an alternative costume, actually, for Money. Mr. Blobby.
Well, this is the thing, is he clearly inflates and deflates depending on who's spending the money. So in this case, it's inflation. because he's been left alone with the miser who will not spend any of the money. So he's just getting fatter and fatter and fatter. I really love the bringing on. I mean, it's almost like a sheepdog leading, isn't it? Come on, Bullshit. Come on, my fat ox. Come on, pretty twat ox. I hope that's not a typo. There's so much good stuff here. How should we get rid of it? Oh, suppository, sweat or by vomit. I mean, it's just grotesque.
I mean, it's fourth form humour at best, isn't it?
Oh, it's fabulous. I love this. I love this play. Any additional thoughts?
I think the boys who did it would have liked it too.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I've been looking recently at Lily and thinking how the boys must have hated some of it, but this they would have enjoyed.
Yes.
Edward's boys has done some great Lily, actually. They seem to be really loving this, but I think they would also really enjoy this play as well.
It's a very different tonal shift, isn't it? And different again from say Marston's boys company work as well, which is a lot darker. So yeah, there's a real range that they're able to do and obviously enjoy doing. Okay, we're going to move forward because I expect there's only so much we can say about it's funny. So scene 2 of Act 5, Prodigality, Dicer, etc. are presumably still on set exuent, but maybe to whom enter Constable making hue and cry and host.
Thieves, neighbours, thieves, come forth, beset the country.
Hark, list a while. What might this clamour be?
Found! We are undone, Prodigality. The constable come after with hue and cry.
Cerberus, what shall we do?
Stand back, lie close, and let them pass by.
So they retire to some other part of the stage as the constable, etc., move through.
Thieves, thieves, oh vile, oh detestable deed. Thieves, neighbours, come forth, away abroad with speed. Where dwell these constables?
Why? What's the matter, friend, I pray?
Why, thieves, man, I tell thee, come away.
Thieves, i'faith. Wife, my skull, my jack, my brown bill.
Come away quickly.
Dick, Tom, will ye whoresons make ye all ready in haste? Let me hear. Ready, how stands the case?
Follows the constable.
Marry, sir, hereby, not far from this place, a plain, simple man riding on his ass, meaning home to his country and God's peace to pass by certain roysters, most furious and mad, is spoiled and robbed of all that he had, and yet not contented when they had his money, but the villains have also murdered him most cruelly.
Good God, for his mercy.
It was my hap to come then presently by him and found him dead with 20 wounds upon him.
But what became of them?
They fled this way.
Oh, then, neighbour, let us here no longer stay, but hence, and lay the country round about. They shall be quickly found, I have no doubt.
And that answers the questions why we don't see Tenacity again. He's dead. Did they mention that earlier? And I just missed it.
No. This is the first we've heard of him being dead.
They're much more concerned with the money.
Yes.
And I like the host's line of following, they fled this way. Well, let us no longer here stay. You know, I want to be somewhere else.
Yes, but I mean, this is the posse, the posse comitatus, the power of the county is being raised to chase a thief.
Yeah, but I actually read it as the host is being heroic in the Milligan style of I'm a coward with a hero with coward's legs.
No, I think because he says afterwards, let's go chase them, let's find them.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's also raising Tom, Dick, Tom, and Will.
Anyway, any additional thoughts about that? The continuation of the previous scene that was doing there.
My question is, who's Will? I know Tom and Dick, but who's Will?
No, they're a different Tom and Dick.
Okay.
They're just generic people. in the household, presumably servants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Well, yeah, but that would be funny. But Tom, Dick, and Will are just people.
Yeah. Everyone's called Tom. Everyone's called Dick. Everyone's called Will. Okay, let's move into scene 3. We have a little shift to the other side, shall we say. Virtue and equity with other attendants enter.
My lords, you see how far this worldly state perverted is. From good inclined, still to follow things amiss. You see but very few that make of virtue any price. You see all sorts with hungry wills one headlong into vice.
We see it oft. We sorrow much and heartily lament that of himself man should not have a better government.
The very beasts that be devoid of reason, dull and dumb, by nature learn to shun those things whereof their hurt may come. If man were then but as a beast only by nature taught, he will also by nature learn to shun what things thou wrought. But man with reason is endued. He reason hath the stay, which reason should restrain his will from going much astray.
Madam, 'tis true. Where reason rules, there is the golden mean.
Most men stoop to stubborn will, which conquereth reason clean.
And will again to fancy yields, which twain be special guides, that train a man to tread ill paths, where ease and pleasure bides.
No ease, no pleasure can be good, that is not got with pains.
That is the cause from virtue's love, man's fancy still refrains.
And pains, I think, they feel likewise, that unto vice do bend.
They feel, no doubt, but yet such pains come not before the end.
I agree for man, that man should be of ill attempt so fain.
Grieve not for that. Evil tasted once turns him to good again.
Then will I take a cheerful mind, unpleasant thoughts expel, and cares for man commit to them, that in the heavens do dwell.
Do so, dear madam, I beseech you most heartily, and recreate yourself before you go hence with some sweet melody.
And yes, and then there is a song. I'm going to ask Sarah, who has very little to say today, to read the song for us, because I can.
If pleasure be the only thing that man doth seek so much, chief pleasures rest where virtue's rules, no pleasures can be such. I don't know what this tune is. Though virtue's ways be very straight, her rocks be hard to climb, yet such as do aspire thereto enjoy all joys in time. Plain is the passage unto vice, the gaps lie wide to ill. To them that wade through lewdness lake, the ice is broken still. This therefore is the difference. The passage first seems hard to virtue's train, but then most sweet at length is their reward. To those again that follow vice, the way is fair and plain, but fading pleasures in the end are bought with lasting pain. If pleasure only be the only thing, if pleasure
And we return to the chorus, and round and round we go, and everyone sings along in
the
the audience and has a lovely time. End of scene. So yes, we're sort of reminded of Virtue, who I don't think we've seen since the very beginning of the play. I think that's the last time we saw Virtue. And Virtue's talking in 14ers, if I'm not mistaken. And they're doing a very formal, poetic-y style back and forth thing where they're sharing lines, and which we've seen in other Peele's done this a couple of times, and other plays as well. So it's a lovely little scene. It's sort of just like to reintroduce us to Virtue that we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah.
Any additional thoughts about that scene, Sarah?
I do wonder, though, why is she talking to equity and not liberality? Like, liberality's barely been in this. And he's the title character of the play.
Yeah, you can ignore the nature of titles. They're usually wrong.
Equity and virtue are on one side, and vanity and fortune are on the other side, and liberality appears to be the arbiter, or the mean.
Yeah.
The happy mean.
Yeah. So in the sense, virtue isn't necessarily absolutely on any of the side of the liberality prodigality thing. There is sort of there is a distance between all of these stakeholders, shall we call them? Call stakeholders in this universe, whatever this universe is. Of course, the scene isn't actually over. The scene divisions are effectively arbitrary because the scene continues with virtue and equity now. And you mentioned liberality. Who comes on but liberality now? So your question is perhaps exactly what the audience is thinking, and then they are rewarded for having that thought. Fallen into my trap. No. Okay, let's go to what's called scene 4. So it says enter virtue and equity, but they're clearly still on stage, unless there's artificial breaks within the performance. But we have coming to them liberality, money, and the sheriff.
Now, my lords, I see no cause but that part we may.
Madam, to that shall like you best we willingly obey.
Yet, lady, stay a while and hear of strange adventures.
Of what adventures tell you? Let us know.
Master Sheriff, of that is happened do you make show.
Then, may it please you, the effect is this. There is a certain royster named Prodigality that long about this town hath ruffled in great jollity. A man long suspected of very lewd behaviour, yet standing ever so high in fortune's favour, as never till now he could be bewrayed of any offence that to him might be laid. Now wanting, belike, his wonted bravery, he is thought to supply it by murder and robbery.
By murder and robbery?
Yea, sure.
How?
This gallant, I tell you, with other lewd Franians, such as himself, unthrifty companions, in most cruel sort by the highway side, assaulted a countryman as he homewards did ride, robbed him and spoiled him of all that they might, and lastly bereaved him of his life outright.
Oh, horrible facts!
The country hereupon raised hue and cry straightway. He is apprehended, his fellows fled away. I, supplying, though unworthy for this year, the place of an officer and sheriff of the shire, to my prince's use have seized on his money, and bring you the same according to my duty, praying the party may have the law with speed, that others may be terrified from so foul a deed.
So horrible a fact can hardly plead for favour. Therefore go you, equity, examine more diligently the man with this outrageous robbery, and as the same by examination shall appear, due justice may be done in presence here.
It shall be done, madam.
Then, madam, I pray you, appoint some officer to take the money, that I may return again with equity.
Let it be delivered to my steward Liberality.
And some people exit.
What money? How come you to be so fat and foggy?
Surely, sir, by the old chuff, that miser, tenacity.
How so?
He would never let me abroad to go, but locked me up in coffers, or in bags bound me fast, that like a boar in a sty he fed me at last. Thus tenacity did spoil me for want of exercise. But prodigality, clear contrariwise, did toss me and fleece me so bare and so thin, that he left nothing on me but very bone and skin.
Well, money, will you bide with him that can devise to rid you and keep you from these extremities?
Who is that?
Even myself, Liberality.
Sir, I like you well, and therefore willingly I am contented with you to remain, so as you protect me from the other twain.
I warrant thee, first from thy bands I'll set them free, and after thy sickness cured shall be.
Thanks and obedience I yield and vow to liberality.
And exit money. Enter Captain Well Done and other suitors.
My lord, according to your appointment and will, I come to attend your pleasure.
Have you brought your bill?
Yea, my lord.
Give it me. I'll be your mean unto the prince, that it may dispatched be. The while take here these 100 crowns to relieve you.
God save the Queen, and God save liberality.
Sir, I have long served the prince at great expense, and long have I been promised a recompense. I beseech you consider of me.
What, do you serve without fee?
Yea, truly, sir.
Hold, pray for the queen.
It shall be my prayer day and night, truly. God save the queen, and God save liberality.
Now, good my lord, vouchsafe of your charity to cast here aside your faithful eye upon a poor soldier, naked and needy, that in the Queen's wars was maimed, as you see.
Where have you served?
In France, in Flanders, but in Ireland most.
Under whom?
Under Captain Well Done.
He was my soldier indeed, sir, until he lost his leg.
Hold, pray for the queen.
And more money giving occurs.
God save the Queen and God save liberality.
And we're going to rattle straight into the close of the play because it's still effectively the same scene. Enter Tipstaves to liberality. There's sheriff, there's clerks, there's crier, there's prodigality, there's the judge. It's all very crowded suddenly.
Room, my masters, give place, stand by. Sir, Equity hath sent me to let you understand that hither he will resort out of hand to sit upon the arraignment of prodigality.
In good time.
Behold, he comes.
Now, Equity, how falls the matter out?
That prodigality is guilty of the fact, no doubt, and therefore, for furtherance of justice effectually, my lord the judge comes to sit upon him presently, wherein we crave your assistance.
I'll wait upon you.
Room, my masters, room for my lord, stand by.
And the judge is placed and the clerks under him.
Call for the prisoner.
Make an oh yes, Squire.
Oh yes! Oh yes! Oh yes!
Sheriff of Middlesex.
Sheriff of Middlesex!
Bring forth the prisoner.
Bring forth the prisoner!
Prodigality.
Prodigality.
Pain of the peril shall fall thereon.
Pain of the peril shall fall thereon.
Here, sir.
Prodigality, hold up thy hand. Thou art indicted here in the name by the name of prodigality, for that thou, the 4th day of February, in the 43 year of the prosperous reign of Elizabeth, art third sovereign, by the grace of God, of England, France, and Ireland, Queen, defender of the faith, etc., 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 together with the other malefactors yet unknown, at Highgate, in the county of Middlesex, aforesaid, did feloniously take from one tenacity of the parish of Pankridge, yeoman, in the said county, 1,000 pounds of gold and silver sterling, and also how thyself, as I said, prodigality, with sword, price 20 shillings, then and there cruelly didst give the said tenacity upon the head one mortal blow, whereof he is now dead, contrary to the Queen's peace, her crown, and dignity.
How sayest thou, prodigality, to this robbery, felony, and murder? Art thou guilty or not guilty?
My lord, I beseech you, grant me counsel to plead my cause.
That may not be. It standeth not with our laws.
Then, good my lord, let me some respite take.
Neither may that be. Thus doth the indictment lie. Thou art accused of murder and of robbery, to which thou must now answer presently whether thou be thereof guilty or not guilty.
Well, since there is no other remedy, and that my fact falls out so apparently, I will confess that I am guilty, most humbly appealing to the prince's mercy.
And what canst thou say for thyself, prodigality, that according to the law thou shouldst not die?
Nothing, my lord, but still appeal to the prince's mercy.
Then hearken to thy judgment. Thou, prodigality, by that name, has been indicted and arraigned here of a robbery, murder, and felony against the laws committed by thee. The indictment whereof being read unto thee here, thou confess thyself to be guilty therein, whereupon I judge thee to be had from hence to the place thou camest from, and from thence to the place of execution, there to be hanged till thou be dead. God have mercy on thee.
My lord, I most humbly beseech you to hear me.
Say on.
I confess I have run a wanton wicked race, which now hath brought me to this woeful wretched case. I am heartily sorry, and with tears do lament my former lewd and vile misgovernment. I find the brittle stay of trustless fortune's state. My heart now thirsteth after virtue all too late. Yet, good my lord, have pity condescend to be a mean for him that meaneth to amend. The prince is merciful, of whose great mercy full many have largely tasted already, which makes me appeal thereto more boldly.
Prodigality, I not misliked your wailful disposition, and therefore for you to the prince shall be made petition, that though your punishment be not fully remitted, yet in some part it may be qualified.
God save your life!
And equity, virtue, liberality, judge, all come down before the Queen, and after reverence is made, virtue speaketh the epilogue.
Most mighty Queen, yonder I sat in place, presenting show of chiefest dignity. Here prostrate, low, before your princely grace, I show myself, such as I ought to be, your humble vassal, subject to your will, with fear and love, your grace to reverence still.
And the play ends, and the question is, does the Queen go up or down? You know, we don't know. Maybe we should get the audience to vote. Does prodigality hang?
You'd want to add a song and dance number there at the end, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It suddenly gets very, very real at the end, doesn't it? It suddenly becomes, you know, it's Highgate, you know, obviously the Queen's in the room, Parridge of Pancridge, you know, it all suddenly becomes incredibly specific in a way that the rest of the play hasn't been. The rest of the play has been sort of weird, wibbly-wobbly world of its own.
It does make me think of Judge Judy on TV, though. And, you know, you could do it in that real camp way, like everything else in this play, but, you know, her, and she takes it so very seriously, and, you know.
But I mean, the reason I was reading the crier as I was just the crier seems to be doing the joke of just repeating exactly what the past thing the person said, and it's just you know, it's just to the annoyance of the poor clerk. It seemed that was the joke. Yeah, this is yeah, you don't want to go too far into the let's kill them. The judge's indictment's really interesting the way it's phrased, with all the lines of being hung on the wrong place. You know, and that seems like a very deliberate spoofing of perhaps how judges may have spoken.
It is ultra real, though. I mean, as someone who is dealing with legal history the whole time, it is really real. I mean, you've got everything here. You've got pardoning, you've got mercy, you've got felony forfeiture, you've got all sorts of legal issues, which I won't go into at this point because it would bore the pants off the lot of you. But nevertheless, I tell you here and now, this is the real stuff. And Pancridge is St. Pancras.
Ah, excellent. Love that. Yes, and all the stuff with liberality, talking to the various suitors, the captain and the other two suitors as well. You know, that has a lovely, interesting quality. Helen, I thought you might have something to say on that.
Yeah, it's the Earl of Essex. Without a doubt.
Right.
It's all these, you know, soldier without a leg, and it just feels so topical.
No, it's the Earl of Essex. Liberality is what one of the things this is doing is telling the Queen the Earl of Essex is a really, really good guy, and you ought to give him his sweet wines monopoly back.
Sarah, I saw a hand.
Yes, just going back to the trial, even though it's all very real, there is something quite surreal about it. Again, I just kept thinking of Alice in Wonderland. I kept thinking of the trial scene in Alice in Wonderland because, I can't find it now, but Prodigality says, "Grant me counsel to plead my cause," and the judge says no. But then the judge says to him, like, "What can you say for yourself?" And then Prodigality goes, "Oh yeah, nothing." And then later on, Prodigality then does like ask if he can speak. "I beseech you, hear me." And then the judge says, "Oh yeah, okay, go on." So there's all these really weird contradictions in it, and it just really reminded me of Alice.
Yeah, it's not, they're not in fact contradictory. There was no right to counsel in a criminal case. After conviction, you had the right to speak in mitigation before sentence. I mean, there are all sorts. This is very precise. It's remarkably precise.
Okay, just opening out to the rest of the play now. Final thoughts before we go into the next play. Make sure you've got your scripts ready. I found this really fab and fun and full of possibilities. I don't know what to say beyond. Yeah, I really love that. And I could really see doing this, and with minor tweaks, mostly, possibly more music and more songs. It's the only thing I'd actively possibly change.
And you also said you would introduce a feather boa quite early on. I forget, was it Aliki who described it as camp as a row of tents?
No,
that was me.
Not mine.
No, that was you, was it? Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean the RuPaul reference that we were throwing in yesterday, that all fits very well. There's all sorts of ways to play with this. Cabaret setting feels very appropriate, but with a set, I really like the idea of a back wall that's just basically made out of. And you don't know where the doors and the windows are. They're part of the structure, and you project onto it, so you can have different settings, and that's your set. That's sort of how I'm seeing it.
You could almost be back to your favourite staging of the Muppet Show.
Well, I think this is a definite Muppet Show candidate. It would solve a lot of your staging problems: the inflation of deflation of money, the hanging of prodigality.
See, yeah.
You can have Statler and Wardledorf, Virtue and who is it commenting on the scene?
Virtue and Equity.
And Equity of Statler and Waldorf.
I love that idea.
That's great.
It's interesting, Rob, that you say it would work in a cabaret setting, because when I was reading the first half of the play and they came to that song about money, I was instantly reminded of the Money song from the musical Cabaret. I don't know whether anybody mentioned that yesterday.
We went extensively on that in the chat.
That was in the chat. That wasn't in the video, so it's good someone said it out loud. There's so many songs about money we could throw in here. It's the sing-off as well that I absolutely loved from earlier, where they compete for fortune's favour by a song.
Of course.
How else?
Yeah. Okay, I think any final thoughts before we move on? I think we can just say thumbs up, everyone. I think we're all very happy with that. We're going to move now swiftly on to the marriage of wit and science. And if anyone gets a sense of deja vu, it's because I don't think anyone in this room read the play of science by Redford off the top of my head. I've forgotten his name now, which was a play about 20 years earlier than this. We in this room have read another play, which was about 10 years after this. This is the only one of those three plays which we know definitely was printed. So this is a printed, published artifact, whereas the other two plays appear in manuscript. So this is the play that if one mentioned something along the lines of marriage and wit and science, this is probably the play that anyone from the time might have known actively of. So we've sort of done it out of order. We did the first one, the third one, now we're coming back to the second one. It's all a bit of a mess. But now, once by the end of this week we've looked at all three, we can do a proper compare and contrast and see what ebbs and flows and see where we are. But as I say, there's lots of similarities between each three texts. But I think this room primarily, let's just try and think about this play in its own right, and we'll worry about compare and contrast later. It might be something those who's done more than one session on these texts might want to throw in, but let's not do that today. So this is The Marriage of Wit and Science, a new and pleasant interlude intituled to The Marriage of Wit and Science. It's printed around 1570. Putative date is a couple of years before that. So in the 1560s, 1568 is the date that generally comes up and seems, if not unassailable, but fairly plausible. So the play opens, Act 1, Scene 1, enters with the characters of Nature, Wit, and Will. And we're going to see a lot of Wit and Will. Not so much Nature, I think, in the coming scenes, but this scene is much more focused in on fewer characters. This play overall is. So anyway, go Nature.
Grand lady, mother of every mortal thing, nurse of the world, conservative of kind, cause of increase of life and soul the spring, at whose instinct the noble heaven doth wind, to whose award all creatures are assigned, I come in place to treat with this my son, for his avail how he the path may find, whereby his race in honour he may run. Come, tender child, unripe and green for age, in whom the parent sets her chief delight. Wit is thy name, but far from wisdom sage, till tract of time shall work and frame aright this peerless brain, not yet in perfect plight. But when it shall be wrought, methinks I see, as in a glass beforehand with my sight, a certain perfect piece of work in thee. And now, so far as I can guess by signs, some great attempt is fixed in thy breast. Speak on, my son, whereto thy heart inclines, and let me deal to set thy heart at rest. He salves the sore that knows the patient best, as I do thee, my son, my chiefest care, in whom my special praise and joy doth rest. To me, therefore, these thoughts of thine declare.
Nature, my sovereign queen and parent passing dear, whose force I am enforced to know, and knowledge everywhere. This care of mine, though it be bred within my breast, yet it is not so ripe as yet to breed me great unrest. So run I to and fro with hap luck as I find, now fast, now loose, now hot, now cold, inconstant as the wind. I feel myself in love, yet not inflame it so, but causes move me now and then to let such fancies go, which causes prevailing sets each thing else in doubt, much like the nail that last came in and drives the former out. Wherefore, my suit is this, that it would please your grace to settle this unsettled head in some assured place, to lead me through the thick, to guide me all the way, to point me where I may achieve my most desired prey. For now again of late I kindle in desire, and pleasure pricketh forth my youth to feed a greater fire. What though I be too young to show her sport in bed, yet are there many in this land that at my years do wed, and though I wed not yet I am old enough to serve my lady to my power, and to begin to woo.
What is that lady's son, which thus thy heart doth move?
A lady whom it might beseem high Jove himself to love.
Who taught thee her to love, or hast thou seen her face?
Nor this, nor that, but I heard men talk of her apace.
What is her name?
Reason is her sire, experience her dame. The lady now is in her flower, and science is her name. Lo, where she dwells, lo, where my heart is all possessed, lo, where my body would abide, lo, where my soul doth rest, her have I borne goodwill these many years tofore. But now she lodgeth in my thought 100 parts the more, and since I do persuade myself that this is she, which ought above all earthly rights to be most dear to me, and since I wot not how to compass my desire, and since, for shame, I cannot now nor mind not to retire, help on, I you beseech, and bring this thing about, without your hurt to my great ease, and set all out of doubt.
Thou askest more than is in me to give, more than thy cause, more than thy state will bear. They are two things to able thee to live, and to live so that none should be thy peer. The first from me proceedeth everywhere, but this by toil and practice of the mind is set full far, God wot, and bought full dear, by those that seek the fruit thereof to find, to match thee then with science in degree, to knit that knot that few may reach unto. I tell thee plain, it lieth not in me. Why should I challenge that I cannot do? But thou must take another way to woo, and beat thy brain, and bend thy curious head, both ride and run, and travel to and fro, if thou intend that famous dame to wed.
You name yourself the lady of this world.
It is true.
And can there be within this world a thing too hard for you?
My power is not absolute in jurisdiction, for I cognize another Lord above, that hath received into his disposition the soul of man, which he of special love to gifts of grace and learning eke doth move, a work so far beyond my reach and call, that into part of praise with him myself to show might soon procure my well-deserved fall. He makes the frame, and I receive it so, no jot therein altered for my head, and as I it receive, I let it go, causing therein such sparkles to be bred as he commits to me, by whom I must be led. Who guides me first, and in me guides the rest, all which in their due course and kind are spread, or gift of gifts from me, such as may serve them best. To thee, son wit, he willed me to inspire the love of knowledge and certain seeds divine, which ground might be a means to bring thee here, if thereunto thyself thou wilt incline. The massy gold the cunning hand makes fine. Good grounds are tilled, as well as are the worst. The rankest flower will ask a springing time. So is man's wit, unperfect at the first.
If cunning be the key and well of worldly bliss, methinketh God might at the first as well endue all with this.
As cunning is the key of bliss, so it is worthy praise. The worthiest things are won with pain, in tract of time always.
And yet right worthy things there are, you will confess, I trow, which notwithstanding at our birth, God doth on us bestow.
There are, but such as unto you that have the great to name, I rather that bestow than win thereby immortal fame.
Fain would I learn what harm or detriment ensued, if any man were at his birth with these good gifts endued.
There should be nothing left wherein man might excel. No blame for sin, no praise to them that had designed it well. Virtue should lose her price, and learning would abound. And as a man would admire the thing that each where might be found, the great estate that have of me and fortune what they will, should have no need to look to those whose heads are fraught with skill. The meaner sort that now excels in virtues of the mind should not be once accepted there, where now they succour find. For great men should be sped of all, and would have need of none, and he that were not born to land should lack to live upon. These and 5,000 causes more, which I forbear to tell, the noble virtue of the mind have cause there to dwell. Where none may have access, but such as can get in, through many double doors, through heat, through cold, through thick and thin.
Suppose I would address myself to seek her out, and to refuse no pain that lieth thereabout, should I be sure to speed?
Trust me, and have no doubt, thou canst not choose but speed, with travail and with time. These two are they that must direct thee how to climb.
With travail and with time, must they needs join in one?
Nor that nor this can do thee good, if they be took alone.
Time worketh all with ease, and gives the greatest dint. In him soft water drops can hollow hardest flint. Again, with labour by itself great matters compassed be, even at a gird in very little time or none we see. Wherefore in my conceit good reason it is, either this without that to look, or that without this.
Set case thou didst attempt to climb Parnassus hill. Take time, 500,000 years, and longer if thou will. Troust thou to touch the top thereof by standing still? Again, work out thy heart and spend thyself with toil. Take time with all, or else I dare assure thee of the foil.
Madam, I trust I have your license and your leave. With your goodwill and so much help as you to me can give, with further aid also, when you shall spy your time, to make a proof to give attempt this famous hill to climb. And now I here request your blessing and your prayer, for sure before I sleep, I will to yonder fort repair.
I bless thee here, and all such gifts as nature can bestow, and for thy sake I would they were as many 100 more. Take there withal this child to wait upon thee still, a bird of mine, some kin to thee, his name is Will.
Welcome to me, my Will. What service canst thou do?
All things forsooth, sir, when we list, and more too.
But whether wilt thou list, when I shall list, I trow?
Trust not to that. Peradventure, yea, peradventure, no.
When I have need of thee, wilt thou not serve me so?
If ye bid me run, perhaps I will go.
Cock's soul, this is a boy for the nonce among 20 more.
I am plain, I tell you, at a word and at a blow.
Then must I prick you, child, if you be drowned in sloth.
Agree, you twain, for I must leave you both. Farewell, my son, farewell, mine own good Will. Be ruled by wit, and be obedient still. Force thee I cannot, but as far as lies in me, I'll help thy master to make a good servant of thee. Farewell.
Exit nature.
Adieu, Lady Mother, with thanks for all your pain. And now let me bethink myself again and eke again. To match with science is the thing that I have took in hand, a matter of more weight, I see, than I did understand. Will must be won to this, or else it will be hard. Will must go break the matter first, or else my game is marred. Sir boy, are you content to take such part for me as God shall send, and help it forth as much as lies in thee?
Yea, master, by his wounds, or else cut off his head.
Come then, and let us two devise what trace were best to tread. Nature is on my side, and Will, my boy, is fast. There is no doubt I shall obtain my joys at last.
And in theory, they exit, and in theory, that's the end of the first act. It's quite a different beast, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen, from what we've just done? This is much
Wordy.
more thinky. Technical term, that. Sarah.
From the title, this is what I expected the other play to be.
Yeah.
Like, I was so taken aback by that, because this was what I was expecting.
Yes, this is very much yes. Here, this is we have nature and the son Wit, and Wit's really keen on science, whose parents are reason and experience, and they're going to go on a journey to get her, but it's not really clear what they're doing.
Climbing a hill?
But it's Parnassus.
Yeah, it is a bit nebulous what this journey is, apart from just that it'll take a long time and it'll be arduous. That seems to be the whole point of the journey, is that it's going to be really, really unpleasant, like most gap years.
No, this isn't a gap year. This is my supervisor telling me what it's like to be doing it. Forget undergraduate work. This is the real world. This takes a lot of time and a lot of skull sweat.
What was it, 500,000 years or something, she said?
Yeah.
Easy work.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because at the time, the view was the age of the Earth was only 4,000 or 5,000 years.
Yeah, maybe it's a deliberate conjunction in that sense. Though it takes as long as the age of the Earth, that might be the logic of that. So yeah, and that you get Will, who looks like he's a trustworthy young chap.
Maybe is, maybe isn't.
Yes, but Will and Wit have to work together, or else you achieve nothing.
Yes.
You learn nothing.
Sorry.
So no, go Aliki.
Early modern ADHD then. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable shout. Other thoughts before we move forward?
Nature really stole the show in the first act.
Lots of
So
authority. Yeah, carry on.
I was just wondering if nature will be a stable throughout the text.
There is a slight Obi-Wan quality to some of the pronouncements that nature makes. Nature has their limits.
Yeah.
I think that speech was really interesting. I really liked that. Wit's going, "You're all powerful. You can just make her love me, can't you?" And going, it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and he's talking about people. You can't be born to knowledge. You've got to acquire it by work. Because if you could be born to knowledge, then there would be an elite who were born to it. He were not born to land, should lack to live upon. So there would be no way for the poor scholar to attain anything if you could inherit.
So, yeah. Any other thoughts before we move forward? Okay, now it says exit. It might be that the act structure does replicate some logic of there might be breaks if it's an indoor play for a boys' company of some description, or in a school, then maybe they exit here. But it's possible that they remain on stage as we go into what is called here Act 2. I don't know if these act scene divisions are later editorial inventions, or whether they're in the original printing. That's something we can check. So they may still be on stage, or they may have gone off stage and come back on again. Either way, Wit and Will have the floor.
What? Will? I say, Will boy! Oh, come again, foolish elf.
I cry you mercy, sir. You are a tall man yourself.
Such a crack brain as thou art. I never saw the like to it.
Truth in respect of you, you are nothing else but wit.
Canst thou tell me thy errand, because thou art gone so soon?
I can remember a long tale of a man in the moon, with such a circumstance and such flim-flam, I will tell at a word whose servant I am. Wherefore I come, and what I have to say, and call for answer before I come away. What? Should I make a broad tree of every little shrub, and keep her a great while of the tail of a tub?
Yet thou must commend me to be rich, lusty, pleasant, and wise.
I cannot commend you, but I must make 20 lies. Rich, quoth you? That appeareth by the port that you keep, even as rich as a new-shorn sheep. Pleasant conceits, 10 bushels to the peck, lusty like a herring, with a bell about his neck, wise as a woodcock, as brag as a body louse, a man of your hands to match with a mouse. How say you, are not these proper qualities to praise you with?
Leave these mad toys of thine and come to the pith. One part of the errand should have been to give her this picture of mine to be seen, and to request her the same to accept, safely until my coming to be kept, which I suspend till thy return, and then, if it like her ladyship to appoint me where and when, I will wait upon her gladly out of hand.
Sir, let me alone. Your mind I understand. I will handle the matter, so that you shall owe me thanks. But what, if she find faults with these spindle shanks, or else with these black spots on your nose?
In faith, sir boy, this talk deserveth blows.
You will not misuse your best servant, I suppose, but by his nails and by his fingers too. I will mar your marriage, if you do so.
I pray thee go thy ways, and leave this clatter.
First, shall I be so bold to break to you a matter?
Thou art disposed to spend words in haste, and yet thou knowest this business asketh haste. Oh, sorry, I've said that wrong. Tush. Thou art disposed to spend words in waste, and yet thou knowest this business asketh haste. I can't speak. Haste.
But even 2 words, and then I am gone.
If it be worth the hearing, say on.
I would not have you think that I, for my part, from my promise or from your service will depart. But yet, now and then, it goeth to my heart, when I think how this marriage may be to my smart.
Why so?
I would tell you the cause, if I durst, for shame.
Speak hardily what thou wilt without any blame.
I am not disposed as yet to be tame, and therefore am loath to be under a dame. Now you are a bachelor, a man may soon win you. Methinks there is some good fellowship in you. We may laugh and be merry at board and at bed. You are not so testy as those that be wed, mild in behaviour and loath to fall out. You may run, you may ride, and rove round about, with wealth at your will, and all thing at ease, free, frank, and lusty, easy to please. But when you be clogged and tied by the toe, so fast you shall not have power to let go, you will tell me another lesson soon after. Cry peccavi too, except your luck be the better. Then farewell, good fellowship, then come at a call, and wait at an inch, you idle knaves all. Then sparing and pinching, and nothing of gift, to talk with our master, but all for his thrift. Solemn and sour and angry as a wasp, all things must be kept under lock and hasp. All that which will make me to fare full ill, all your care shall be to hamper poor Will.
I warrant thee, for that take thou no thought. Thou shalt be made of whatever whatsoever be set at naught, as dear to me as mine own dear brother. Whosoever be one, thou shalt be other.
Yea, but your wife will play the shrew. But nay, it is she that I fear.
The message will cause her some favour to bear. For my sake, and thy sake, and for her own likewise, if thou use thyself discreetly in this enterprise.
She hath a father, a testy, sour old man. I doubt lest he and I shall fall out now and then.
Give him fair words, forbear him for his age. Thou must consider him to be ancient and sage. Show thyself officious and serviceable still, and then shall reason make very much of will.
If your wife be ever complaining, how then?
My wife will have nothing to do with my men.
If she do, believe her not in any wise. And when you once perceive her stomach to arise, then cut her short at the first, and you shall see a marvellous virtue in that medicine to be. Give her not the bridle from year or twain, and you shall see her bridle it without a rein. Break her betimes, and bring her under by force, or else the grey mare will be the better horse.
If thou have done, begone and spend no time in vain.
Where shall I find you when I come again?
At home.
Good enough. Take your ease. Let me alone with this.
And exit wit.
Surely a treasure of all treasures it is, to serve such a master as I hope him to be, and have such a servant as he hath of me. For I'm quick, nimble, proper and nice. He is full good, gentle, sober and wise. He is full both to chide or to check. I am as willing to serve or to beck. He orders me well, and speaks me so fair, that for his sake no travail I must spare. But now I'm come to the gate of this lady. I will pause a while to frame mine errand finely. And lo, where she cometh, yet will I not come nigh her, but among these fellows will I stand to eye her.
And we'll just pause there before the narrative moves forward. Going off Will at a rate of knots there. It's interesting, this sort of arguing with yourself quality. I quite like. And Wit certainly doing a late plot catch there. You know, one part of the errand should have mentioned this earlier. To give her this picture of mine to be seen. It's sort of like, oh yeah, there was this other thing we're supposed to. This thing we didn't mention it in the first act. Sorry about that. So yeah, it does look like they've exited and then come on, and the long journey has somehow happened between acts. That seems to be what's going on. Will really does keep pointing out that Wit is you know, a spotty youth. You know, he mentioned in Act 1 that, you know, though I be too young to show her sport in bed, you know, he's not yet a man. This journey is perhaps about him becoming a man.
Well, I'm just wondering whether Wit's Christian name is Half.
I don't think he's stupid. He's just inexperienced. And the fact that he's listening to Will, who's a bit of a git in some of his opinions, you know, so... Thoughts?
If he is off to university, that would put him at about 14.
So yes, thoughts about Will, thoughts about Wit, them left alone. Aliki's doing a face. Unmute yourself and expand.
I didn't like the implication that science was bound to be unfaithful. That was really nasty little slur there. Yeah, put me right off him. Yeah.
The does thing that Will is trying to do that blokey kind of Top Gear thing.
Yeah.
Your problem is?
Yeah, many. Anyway, Francis.
Yeah, and Will was also saying, you know, you've got to control your wife, or she'll wear the pants in the family.
Yeah, he's not a very nice man, is he?
No.
No.
But
No,
he's
he's not-
also a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, even younger than Wit.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Only not as spotty.
No. He's not quite hit puberty in the same way.
No.
Okay, well, they've gone on their journey. That was an exciting journey. Just happened. Walked off stage, walked back on again. Journey's happened. There we are. They're now at the gates, and Wit's left Will to do to talk to Science, the woman who wants to do it. Is this a good plan? Just
Given
me?
what we know of Will, no.
No.
But, also, sure, I mean, that's reasonably realistic. Teenagers aren't that great at communicating with the people they have crushes on.
That's true. So let's expand on the crush, as it were, because enter reason, daddy, experience, mummy, science, the daughter, and they open the doors to the parental home, and Will plops onto the doorstep. So let's see how this goes.
My parents, how many fall and lapse that do ascribe to me the cause of their mishaps? How many see that come too short of their desire? How many do attempt that daily do retire? How many rove about the mark on every side? How many think to hit when they are much too wide? How many run too far? How many light too low? How few to good effect their travail do bestow? And how all these impute their losses unto me? Should I have joy to think of marriage now, trow you? What doth the world? My love alone, say they, is bought so dear that life and goods for it must pay. Strong youth must spend itself, and yet when all is done, we hear of few or none that have this lady won. On me they make outcries and charge me with the blood of those that for my sake adventure life and good. This grief doth wound my heart so, that suitors more as yet I see no cause nor reason why I should admit.
Ah, daughter, say not so. There is great cause and skill for which you should mislike to live unmarried thus alone. What comfort can you have, remaining thus unknown? How shall the commonwealth by you advanced be, if you abide enclosed here, where no man may you see? It is not for your state yourself to take the pain. All strangers shall resort to you to entertain, to suffer free access of all that come and go, to be at each man's call, to travel to and fro. What then, since God hath placed such treasure in your breast, wherewith so many thousand think by you to be refreshed, needs must you have someone of high and secret trust, by whom these things may be well ordered and discussed. To him you must disclose the depth of all your thought. By him, as time shall serve, all matters must be wrought. To him alone you must content yourself to be at call. Ye must be his, he must be yours, he must be all in all.
My lord, your father tells you truth per day, and that in time yourself shall find and try.
I could allege more than as yet I have said, that I must yield and you must be obeyed. Fall out as it will, there is no help I see, someone or other in time must marry me.
In time? Nay, out of hand, madam, if it please you. Faith, I know a yonker that will ease you. A lively young gentleman, as fresh as any flower, that will not stick to marry you within this hour.
Such haste might haply turn to waste to some, but I pray thee, my pretty boy, whence art thou come?
If it please your good ladyship to accept me so, I have a solemn message to tell ere I go, not anything in secret your honour to stain, but in presence and hearing of you twain.
Speak.
The lady of this world, which lady nature hight, hath won a peerless son, in whom she takes delight. On him she chargeth men to be attendants still, both kin to her. His name is Wit, my name is Will. The noble child doth feel the force of Cupid's flame, and seeketh now for ease by counsel of his dame. His mother taught him first to love, whilst he was young, which love with age increases sore, and waxes wondrous strong. Her very fame displays your bounty more and more, and at this pinch he burneth so as never heretofore. Not fantasies forsooth, not vain and idle toys of love, not hope of that which commonly doth other suitors move, but fixed fast goodwill that never shall relent, and virtue's force that shines in you bade him give this attempt. He hath no need of wealth, he woos not for your good. His kindred is such, he need not search to match with noble blood. Such store of friends that, where he list, he may command, and none so behardy to presume his pleasure to withstand. Yourself it is, madam, your virtue and your grace, your noble gifts, your endless praise in every place. You alone, I say, the mark that he would hit, the hoped joy, the dearest prey that can befall to wit.
I have not heard a message more trimly done.
Nor I. What age art thou of, my good son?
Between 11 and 12, madam, more or less.
He hath been instructed to this errand, as I guess.
How old is the gentleman thy master, canst thou tell?
17 or thereabout, I wot not very well.
What stature, of what making, what kind of port bears he?
Such as your ladyship cannot mislike, trust me. Well grown, well made, a stripling clean and tall, well favoured, somewhat black and manly therewithal, and that you may conceive his personage the better. Lo, hear of him the very shape and lively picture. This hath he sent to you to view and to behold. I dare avouch no joint therein, no jot to be controlled.
In good faith, I thank thy master with my heart. I perceive that nature in him hath done her part.
Father, if it please your honour to know, my master will be glad to run, ride, or go, at your commandment, to any place far or near, to have but a sight of your ladyship there. I beseech you appoint him the place and the hour. You shall see how readily to you he will scour.
Do so.
Yea, in any wise, daughter, for, hear you me, he seemeth a right worthy and trim young man to be.
Commend me then to wit, and let him understand that I accept with all my heart this present at his hand, and that I would be glad when he doth see his time to hear and see him face to face within this house of mine. Then may he break his mind and talk with me his fill. Till then, adieu both he and thou, mine own sweet little Will.
And exit science, reason, and experience, leaving Will alone.
Ah, flattering queen, how neatly she can talk, how minionly she trips, how sadly she can move. Well, wanton, yet beware that ye be sound and sure. Fair words are wont oft times fair women to allure. Now must I get me home and make report of this to him that thinks it long till my return, you wis.
And Will exits. We get lots of little bits of data here. We get the almost precise age of Will. I do like the between 11 and 12. It's like going, I'm 11 and 3/4. Kind of thing. And then Will's Wit's 17 or thereabout. He doesn't know, doesn't care. Really, it's portraying him as this sort of cheeky little lad who's, because he's young, can get away with saying sort of naughty things, which doesn't quite excuse things that he says, but makes him not quite culpable in a legal sense. So I like how the scene sort of opens with Science. I don't think it's quite emo, but it's just the way that Reason sort of going, you need to get out of the house, get socialize a bit, stop lingering in your bedroom. It's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Turn that bloody computer off.
My favourite line was the one, fall out as it will, there is no help I see. Someone or other in time must marry me. And she's probably, 15 or something ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, underneath, because it is a play of long speeches and relatively few characters, and it does sort of come at you in this wall of words. But there are nice little details that are quite humanizing throughout, which do come out, and I think in performance would come out even more. So yeah, other thoughts about reason, science, and experience, the little family unit, Alan.
I'm just thinking you could actually play Will as the Artful Dodger. You know, that sort of cheeky, slightly cockney lad.
Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah, it's the youth of him that gets me. I think he's a bit younger than I think of Dodger. But it's that kind of thing. The cheekiness is all.
And science is very taken with him. Mine own sweet little Will. I mean, she's feeling fairly maternal.
My pretty boy.
Yes, and the moment she goes, Will is being very rude about her.
Yes, it seems to be what Will does.
Yeah.
Will doesn't want Wit to marry. You know, Will wants to just, have boyish fun with Wit.
And if we're going with the whole allegorical thing, there's a reason for that. Will wants to be able to be free and do whatever he wants, whereas Wit is on some level trying to tie himself down to society. So it's id and ego or whatever it is, kind of in that's why he's sort of talking to himself when he has that conversation in the last scene, effectively. And then he sends him
together quite well, isn't it?
I think it's very neat. It's not exciting. It's not exciting in the way and effervescent as the last play was. I mean, they're trying to do different things. Sorry, Elizabeth, say again?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not messy.
Alan?
I'm just thinking, because I've just been doing some editing work on the Hayward Proverbs, and I've spotted at least half a dozen lines so far, which are lifted straight into that. So there are a lot of phrases which obviously went into common dialogue from this.
It might be even more than that, because we've got plays which are explicitly proverb based. So, when you've got something that's potentially in a school setting, it might be that there is deliberate additions of proverbs into it as a sort of semi-teaching tool that's there. So it might be more intended than just it's in the air. Because Hayward catalogued a hell of a lot of proverbs.
I know.
You only did the first couple of hundred. It's about 700 available.
I think there were more than that in the version I did.
No, he just kept publishing more and more and more. There's another 6 volumes to go. You haven't touched on them yet. Actually, no, I'm not going to make you do that. That's fine. We won't go any further. Sorry, we're going into backstage editorial discussions. So yes, going sort of final thoughts then to a degree about this play, but also about the previous play. Just sort of going around the room, seeing what crops up. Any thoughts that we haven't thrown into the mix? Obviously, as I say, this is a play that is on a spectrum with 2 other plays, and if anyone was involved in that any of those readings, then by all means throw in a pennyworth here at this stage. That's fine. Francis, do you have any final thoughts?
Just at this point, just that this play seems a bit more pedestrian than the previous one. Yeah.
Yes, its aims are slightly lower on the. I think it's where
the scenes here are somehow familiar in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Sarah, final thoughts?
I'm slightly confused. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. But I'm having slight difficulty with the allegory of it, because if your will doesn't want to do something, then if you don't have the will to do something, then you don't tend to do it. And Will clearly doesn't want Wit to marry. So I'm like, how is this happening?
If you think, but if you think of wit as brain,
Yeah, the
and
reasoning.
Right.
and will as the feeling. So
Right.
there are an awful lot of things that I don't want to do, but my brain tells me I absolutely have to.
Yeah,
Because
so,
in the long run, it will be better.
So you bend your will. So he's not really that kind of character, is he? He's not really bending his will to his desire. He's just kind of more like, oh, off you go. And Will seems to be very much in charge of the two of them. You know, the dynamic isn't.
Wit is quite sharp with him a few times. You know, go off, do the thing I've told you to do. So there is a dynamic there. I think it's true that there is an overarching allegorical narrative that is slightly lost in this version from the original, which no one in this room, I think, read. And I'm not going to go into now, but there is a sense of mission creep may have slightly diluted the sense of what's going on and why it's going on, because it's the clockwork isn't quite grinding the gears in an efficient way. It's a slightly more narrow focus, I think, than in the other. And it's a good thing to, by all means, do say when you're a bit confused by things, because we're here to highlight confusion so that we can work towards knowledge and understanding. He said. Pamela, final thoughts.
I'm kind of imagining Wit and Will as like Don Quixote in the desert on horseback jousting at things. So I know they're very, very much younger version, but that's kind of how I'm picturing their journey at the moment.
Yes, I like that. Yes, there isn't a sense of a journey very much within, the scenes that we see. They go off stage, they come back on again, they're somewhere else. There isn't even a song in between. There might have been originally.
I mean, we could add one.
We can add a song in. Well, we'd add a whole physical theatre sequence in, wouldn't we? And we're going.
Gosh, thirsty work. Let's go to the bar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the moment where Will says, "We've earned a break."
Well, it's I think when they first come back on stage again in Act 2, it's, Wit's calling for Will to hurry up, and Will's going, "You've got longer legs than I have." Basically, what his opening gambit is, you are a tall man yourself, whereas poor Will obviously has hairy little legs that go like that. Morecambe and Wise references dying or death there. Okay, Elizabeth, any final thoughts?
I like the contrast between nature and wit for the first act, and then science, reason, and experience in the second act. I really like that contrast.
Yes, Mother Nature is much more commanding and distant, and whereas science and reason seem to have a much more, oh, come on, I don't want to. Quality to it.
Yes.
Very different household. Aliki, any final thoughts?
Not really. It is all very orderly, isn't it? It doesn't hugely appeal, but I like the analogy. I like the setup. Maybe it's my ADHD going, yeah, I know, I have that relationship with Will. I get that.
Dan, any final thoughts? Remember, you can throw in for other things as well if you want.
For this play, for an allegorical play, I'm not yet, at least, connecting so well to the characters.
Yeah.
Normally, I feel like you're supposed to with these types of plays, so we can figure out the morals in life and whatnot. But not so much follow. I mean, I see how they're stereotyping each of these things, but it's not making me think too deeply about it, which I feel like you should be a little bit with these morality plays. But we'll see where we're going later on. In the print, there are those act and scene divisions. In the last play, I really do feel like, as I was mentioning yesterday, that these were artificially created act and scene divisions, and maybe even the title as well, because when I was calling it a short quarto, it's, I mean, relatively speaking, it's very short, and you can see if the type is written in 12 font, the act and scene divisions are written in 16, as well as entrances, and as much space as possible seem to have been being used there as if they really want to fill out space there. So it just makes me wonder, I mean, in terms of trying to pin down when it was, who wrote this, whatever. Probably not somebody who doesn't do act and scene divisions would have written that.
Yeah, the act and scene divisions are all sort of about the entrances and exits kind of act and scene divisions. So, you know, they're not scene divisions in the way we do it in most plays. So they're quite unhelpful. I love the way to changing font size and just going, yeah, we've all done that with a Word document. Yeah, need this proposal needs to look longer. Just make the title bigger.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah. So you can see the strategies being used there as well. And the words pleasant comedy are huge, and then it's a little bit smaller, the liberality and prodigality, and then by itself, about the queen, playing for the queen there.
Yeah. Whereas the act divisions seem very deliberate, that they are structural and to do with how it would have been performed or in some fashion. That seems to make sense. Because Will's closing of Act 2 is very much, and now that's the end of that. We're moving on. A warning for tomorrow as well is I haven't double checked. There is the possibility that some of the material is in the wrong place based on the original printing. So I'm going to check that. I might make you just do it as it's printed if it is wrong, rather than try and figure out where the ordering goes. But I suspect this has been corrected, so I'm hoping it's going to be fine. So, you know, that's something to look forward to tomorrow. General confusion and terror. Helen, final thoughts?
I was thinking very much about the two plays together, because we were originally sold this double bill in that they were both written within a year of each other. Yes,
I made an erroneous statement out of video session.
Yeah, but it was interesting because if it was originally the Prodigality play, then a play similar to this was the one that the Boys' Company author took and altered to put in the new material, the topical stuff, the stuff to suit the Boys' Company that he had then. So I think that might also explain some of the enormous differences in the verses, because if you've got a cut and paste job on an old play, that might explain that in Prodigality.
I'm not sure. I'm going to go with that, but it's possible. It's possible. One of the things I'd say about this play, Wit and Science, because we've done the one that follows it. We've read that, I think, in the afternoon sessions. Many of us here may have done that one, which was a very cut and paste with other material bunged in it, and was very obviously so, in a way that I don't feel about the Prodigality play. It still all felt structural. That doesn't mean to say it isn't. But I would have thought it would probably have to have been more of a top-down rewrite, in a sense. I'm not sure.
Yes, you couldn't see the joins. It was just I was trying to find a reason for moving 1560 to 1600. You know, one way of doing that would be to say someone took an old play and rewrote it.
Well, I think it's fair to say it's just simply that there is a reference to a play called Prodigality. It's just called Prodigality from 1567, which was then connected with this later play, and that there may be, and there's a lot of plays that have very similar titles. You know, there's potentially another play which may be this play, but maybe another play called Wit and Will, which is around that is referenced at the same time. Now that could be a totally different play, because there's lots of plays that have very similar titles with similar themes, or it could be the same play. And so it's one of those interesting questions. Dan, I think, may have a follow-up.
Yeah, it just happens all the time in Hensler's Diary, where the references to plays, and we have to suppose, well, is it Hieronymo? Is it referring to Hieronymo, or is it referring to Spanish tragedy? Or they're talking about Beatrice and Benedict, which we all then, oh, sorry. Go on. There we go.
I've had one of them for a while.
There may be a play called this.
Yeah.
So, and simply put, or is, yeah. My next example is going to be another Duckman, so I can't do that one. But there you go. With these, you can't. Somebody making an attribution, really, you have to sometimes take it just with a grain of salt.
Well, that's good then, because I was straining to find a reason.
Yeah, I think we've got to call Liberality and Prodigality an artifact from 1601, 1602, and whether it had an earlier life is only ever going to be speculation. I don't think there's enough evidence.
It's before 1602. Yeah. I would put it closer to 1600 than 1601.
Well, it's printed 1602, so in that sense, it's an artifact of that printing, and somewhere performed slightly before that. Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, thinking on precursors, there's a reference in here to the shrew in Will's speech before he went to visit science. So that was another theme that was current, and then re-emerges in later plays. Yeah,
there's an ongoing, shall we say, problematic thread of materials on shrews and women generally. That yes, we could cross-reference if we really, really wanted to dive down that depressing alley.
Misogyny is always relevant. Yes.
Any additional final thoughts before I close the session? Okay, well, we had a fabulous time with Liberality and Prodigality. We had a lot of fun with money, I have to say. Money was the standout favourite there. Costumer's dream and a performer's joy of technical work that could be done with that, and the odd hanging as well, abortive but still, health and safety nightmare in progress, and a play that I'm really, really quite keen on trying to find a way of doing something with in the future, because that's a keeper. Marriage of Wit and Science, we've only about a third of the way through. We're going to be completing that tomorrow, and at some point we may do some compare and contrast with the other plays in a more organised and concerted fashion. But for now, all that remains is to thank all these wonderful readers for giving their time, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.